Somebody at work is doing everything they can to get under your skin right now. Maybe it's the coworker who takes credit for your work in every meeting. Maybe it's the one who has a snide comment ready every single time you open your mouth. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The problem was never how you responded. There's a 60-second method Marines are trained to use under real pressure, and it works just as well in a Monday morning meeting as it does anywhere else. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do it, starting now. If there's one thing you learn fast in the Marines, it's that you don't get to pick who's on your team. You get placed next to people who annoy you, who challenge you, who try to push your buttons on purpose to see what you'll do, and you're expected to handle it without losing your composure, because the second you lose control of yourself, you've already lost. That's not a leadership theory. That's something drilled into you until it becomes automatic. And it turns out, the exact same principle applies to a coworker who steals your ideas or talks down to you in a meeting. Let's be honest about who we're talking about here, because toxic coworker isn't one type of person. There's the credit stealer. You do the work, you solve the problem, and somehow in the meeting, it becomes their idea. You sit there wondering if you should say something, but calling it out feels petty, so you stay quiet and it eats at you for the rest of the day. There's the passive-aggressive one. Never says anything directly, just little comments, little sighs, little, no offense, but statements that are absolutely designed to offend. You can never quite prove they're doing it on purpose, which is exactly what makes it so maddening. And there's the complainer. Nothing is ever good enough. Nothing is ever their fault. And somehow, every conversation with them leaves you feeling drained, like they just siphoned the energy right out of your day. You've probably tried avoiding them. You've probably tried being extra nice, hoping it would soften them up. You've probably tried matching their energy just once, just to see if it would make them stop. None of it works long-term because you're treating the symptom, not the actual mechanism that's making these situations so hard to control. Here's the mechanism. When someone provokes you, whether it's a snide comment or someone stealing your credit in front of your boss, your brain doesn't process that as a minor inconvenience. It processes it as a threat. Your amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for fear and aggression, hijacks the moment before your rational brain even gets a vote. That's why you snap or freeze or say something you regret an hour later. It's not a character flaw, it's biology. In the Marine Corps, we had a name for the tool used to interrupt that hijack before it takes over. I call it the tactical pause. It's built from two things: a breathing technique used by combat veterans and law enforcement to reset the nervous system in seconds, and a redirect method built on a real communication discipline called verbal judo, originally developed for de-escalating conflict without ever raising your voice. Combined, it takes about a minute, and it works because it doesn't ask you to suppress how you feel. It gives your brain enough time to catch up to your mouth so you respond on purpose instead of reacting on autopilot. Step 1. The reset. The moment a toxic coworker says something that gets under your skin, before you respond at all, you do 4 seconds in, hold for 4, 4 seconds out, hold for 4. This is sometimes called box breathing, and it's used by people in high-stakes jobs for one simple reason. It physically switches your nervous system from fight or flight into a calmer, controlled state. You're not calming down because you're telling yourself to relax. You're calming down because you're changing your body's chemistry in real time. This takes about 15 seconds, and from the outside, it just looks like you're taking a breath before you speak. Nobody even notices you're doing it. Step 2, the redirect line. Once your body has reset, you don't defend yourself, and you don't attack back. Instead, You ask one calm, neutral question that puts the weight of the conversation back on them. Here are 3 you can use depending on the situation. If someone takes credit for your work, walk me through how you're thinking about this, because I want to make sure we're representing it accurately. If someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, say more about what you mean by that. If someone is constantly complaining and draining the room, what outcome are you hoping for here? Notice what all 3 of these have in common. They're not accusations. They don't raise your voice or your temperature, but they force the other person to either explain themselves, which usually exposes exactly what they were doing, or back off entirely, because most people who operate this way are counting on you either staying silent or getting emotional. When you do neither, they don't have a script for that. Step 3, hold the silence. After you ask the question, stop talking. Let it sit there. This is the part most people get wrong, because silence feels uncomfortable, so they rush to fill it. And filling it is what gives the other person room to twist the conversation back in their favor. In the Marine Corps, silence isn't weakness, it's control. Whoever needs to fill the silence first is usually the one who loses the exchange. Step 4, follow through without emotion. Whatever they say next, you respond factually, not emotionally. If they backpedal, you simply move the conversation forward like nothing happened. If they double down, you calmly repeat a version of your question. You are never trying to win an argument. You're trying to remove the emotional reward they're looking for, because that reward is the entire reason this behavior keeps happening in the first place. I want to give you a real scenario, because this only matters if you can actually picture using it. Say you're in a meeting and a coworker presents an idea you came up with last week, word for word, without mentioning your name once. Your first instinct is that hot flash of anger in your chest. Instead of reacting, you do the 4-count breath while they're still talking. Nobody notices. Your face doesn't change. Then you wait for a natural pause and say calmly, "I'm glad this direction is coming together. Walk me through how you're thinking about the rollout, since I put together the original data on this last week." That's it. No accusation, no raised voice. But now everyone in that room knows exactly whose idea it was, and your coworker has to either credit you on the spot or trip over their own answer trying to avoid it. Either way, you've made your point without ever losing your composure, and the next time they think about taking credit for your work, they'll remember this moment. A few ways people mess this up. First, skipping the breath and going straight to the line. Without the reset, your tone will leak your anger even if your words sound calm, and people pick up on tone faster than words. Second, over-explaining. The power of the redirect line is in its brevity. The moment you start justifying yourself for 30 seconds, you've handed control right back to them. Third, escalating if they push back. If someone gets defensive after your redirect, resist the urge to match their energy. Repeat your question calmly, or simply let the silence do the work again. The person who stays composed always has more control in that room than the person who raises their voice. So here's the tactical pause in 60 seconds. 4-count breath in, hold, breath out, hold. Then one calm redirect question that hands the moment back to them. Then silence. Then a response with zero emotional charge. It's not about becoming someone who never gets frustrated. It's about making sure that when it counts, your response is a decision, not a reaction. That's the difference between someone who gets pushed around at work and someone people learn not to test. If you've got a toxic coworker story of your own, drop it in the comments. I read every one of them, and some of the best future videos on this channel have come straight from what you all deal with day to day.